we built that shop down there from that.
That's fantastic. And that would have been for the 83 season.
Yeah, that was for the 83 season.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I don't know, some of you know, some of you don't know. The car behind us is now that, and actually that's something I want to get to. So Tex Powell told me, and actually Mike Powell, when we first bought this car from Chris Brown's Sportsman car, I looked at it, looked like a Banjo chassis with a front steer clip on it.
Yeah.
Didn't think nothing of it, put it in the farm building. It sat there for a while, and I'm out there one day looking through the cars, and Mike's with me, and Tex is with me, and Mike looks at it, he says, "This looks like Benny's car." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, Banjo built a front steer car for Benny." And I said, "Banjo didn't build a front steer car." He said he built one for Benny.
Yep.
And I'm going to let you tell them the story about this, but that's how this, I owned this car for a year and a half before I had any idea what it was.
Before you knew what it really was, yeah.
Yes.
Knew the history of it.
And then we got you involved, you know, when they said, "Hey, you really need to look into this," and we started doing our research, and wow. So Benny gets this only front steer car that Banjo built.
Yep.
You guys run very well at Daytona in '84. I think you finished 4th.
Yeah.
4 races later, you win Atlanta. You beat Dale Earnhardt Sr. by, you know, just a bit.
We won the Invitational and came back and won the race.
Yes. Okay.
The next week.
Wow. In this car,
In that car right there.
Yep.
Yep.
And so I'm going to let him tell you the story of the only front steer Banjo car he ever built.
Well, it was just a deal where I think Leo Jackson had a lot to do with it. Leo kind of ran the team right there, and everybody was starting to run the Laughlin cars, all the front steer cars and stuff like that. So I think he went to Banjo and wanted Banjo to build one.
And Banjo didn't want to build one.
Banjo didn't want to build one. Yeah, Banjo was a rear steer guy. And that's all pretty much all he'd done. And I think Leo owned Precision Products. Him and his brother Richard Jackson, they owned the Precision Products, and a big machine shop. I mean, they built parts for ejection seats for jets. I mean, they were a very high dollar machine shop. A very nice. Some of the smartest guys that I know.
Oh wow!
And he talked Banjo into doing it because his shop was right down the street. It was within a mile or two of Banjo shop, so they were pretty tight to start with. And he built it, and I mean it was a little different. It was challenging. You know, we got back to the shop because it wasn't like anybody else's front steer, and it was still a lot of stuff, but. Everything worked good. The geometry worked out. I mean, Banjo did an excellent job of working that car out. All the bugs. I mean, just right off the bat, the car ran good. Right off the bat, Benny really liked the way it drove. It was comfortable, and like I say, we went to Atlanta and just won the Invitational, and then came back the next weekend and won the race and stuff like that. So.
And Banjo didn't build another one.
He never built another one that I know of.
So Tex Powell told me a story once that when Benny did so well in this, that Benny went to Banjo and said, "This thing's awesome. You really need to build more of these." And that he said that Banjo said the only thing that he ever saw hurt Benny Parsons' feelings. Yeah. Banjo said, "It don't mean you just got lucky. You know, sorry, but we ain't building those." You know. Wow. And he said that really.
Well, how do you get lucky for 2 races?
Well, that's what I was at. I mean, and Daytona running as well as it did. This would have been. Yeah. But he never built another one. This was it.
I thought he built one for Bill Elliott. I was thinking Bill Elliott wanted one, and I thought I'd heard, but that could have been a rumor.
I'll have to look into that because if there is another one, I'd definitely like to know about it.
He had built Bill Elliott one, but I could be wrong on that. I'd heard that, but didn't know if it was true or not.
That's cool. So did it after Atlanta? You run this car the rest of the year. You guys had a
lot of it. Yeah.
I think you won the All-Star race 2 years later, correct, or 1 year later? 86 with the Oldsmobiles.
No, we didn't win Invitational after that. Or
I thought you did. Okay, so it was
not when I was there because I was there through '86, and then Tex came over.
Okay.
And at the end of '86, he came over there.
Okay. See, as much as we get credit for it, we don't know everything yet. That's why we ask these guys.
Yeah.
Because they lived it, we're just learning it. So, yeah.
And I don't always trust my memory either.
No, that's cool. So 84, 5, and 6, or 86, Tex took over. 84 and 5.
At the end of 86, he took over for the 87 season.
Okay. What'd you do after that?
I went to work for Cale.
Okay.
I didn't do anything for about 3 months, and then I went to work for Cale.
Any particular reason? Just took some time off?
No. I guess when I left Benny's, I did go right away over to Cale's. Mm-hmm. It wasn't long. I went over to Cale's, but that didn't work out. I was there for a year, mm-hmm. and in the middle of the year, in May, it just didn't work. And it was my own fault. One of the guys, we had Tracy Reed. He was my right-hand man, mm-hmm. over at Cale Yarborough's, and Cale Yarborough. Praying for the guy because he's not in real good health right now.
Yeah.
But love that guy. He's one of the toughest drivers I ever worked for. Nothing against anybody else. I mean, Tim Richmond was a heck of a driver.
Yeah.
Ricky was a good driver. Everybody, Buddy Baker, everybody. Yeah. I mean, I had a chance to work with some really good, talented people. But the one thing about Cale Yarborough, he was probably the most fearless guy I ever worked with.
Really?
He couldn't help you get the car set up. He couldn't hardly tell you if it was pushing or loose. But whatever you gave him, he would get more out of it than anybody I knew. He would sit there, and we were at Talladega practicing, getting ready for qualifying, and we were going from 600s. We were going to put a set of 650s in the back of that thing. Mm-hmm. And which people weren't doing that back then. They had just started making a few 650s, and we grabbed a pair of them and went out and came in. I said, "How's that?" He goes, "Well, how'd it do?" Yeah. You could tell it took his breath a little bit. I said, "Well, it was just a tick faster. Well, if it's faster, I can hang on to it." He didn't grab it. If it didn't, get him out of there. But if it's faster, I can do it. I mean, there's all kinds of stories about him with his bear. Somebody gave him a bear, and he had him sedated and had him in a crate and had him tied up or something in the back of his plane, flew him home, and halfway the drugs wore off and the bear come alive and everything. Oh yeah.
Oh my
gosh. Cale's got some stories.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
But he's fearless.
Yeah.
Fearless.
That's excellent. Holy smokes. Man. So you said half season, full season there, and then
we the first year I was there. Like I said, my right-hand guy was Tracy Reed, mm-hmm. and super nice guy. He had made a deal with Cale he wanted to be a race car driver, mm-hmm. and he had made a deal with Cale. If he worked at a reduced salary, mm-hmm. that Cale would furnish him with a motor to run a couple of ARCA races during the year. And he brought his own car. He had a Monte Carlo, mm-hmm. about like this, same style mm-hmm. and everything. And we were at Talladega running the ARCA race. And what was it, Darrell Bryant? What was his son's name?
Oh, gosh.
You remember?
You had to ask me. Yeah, I do, but I can't think of it right now. Yeah.
He spun or something, mm-hmm. and was coming, and Tracy went down to miss him and spun and caught the passenger side. He slapped the inside dirt bank on the back stretch at Talladega. Mm-hmm. They had that metal grate raised up there. He spun and came around and hit that, and it was a car he had built mm-hmm. at home and stuff like that, or at a shop back home. Mm-hmm. And it didn't have, this is before they required it, but it just had one of those aluminum headrests bolted to the bars in the back.
Yep.
And when it hit, he went over and it just cleaned that aluminum headrest off the side. And when it did, he went on over like that, and his shoulder came out from under the harness.
Oh, shit.
And he went over and got into the bars.
Oh, my God.
Got into the steering wheel.
Mm.
And it killed him instant. Cale came down there, and which I stayed on the car, and a bunch of the guys went down and ran him, helped him, pitted him and everything, and I looked after getting the car ready for practice the next time, so I wasn't down there. But Cale came down and told us, he said, I went down to the hospital when they rolled him in the infield mm-hmm. care center. He said, I saw him, and he said he was gone then.
Mm.
He knew it right then, and it took the wind out of the sails of the whole team. Because he was my right-hand guy.
Right.
And everybody in the shop really liked Tracy.
Well, yeah.
And people just, the work didn't turn out and stuff. And I got off myself, mm-hmm. and we were trying to build a new car for Daytonas when they were downsizing to the Oldsmobiles.
Yes.
And stuff right there. And the new Oldsmobile, the round nose and everything like that. And we ran a partial schedule, so we got all the wind tunnel time. And we went to the wind tunnel, and I built a new nose for the car. And it was good.
Yeah.
It was good, and they ended up giving it to Tex, and Tex built them for Oldsmobile.
Okay. Yeah.
When we got it all done,
Yep.
and Tex ended up building them right there. But I spent too much time on the Daytona car, and we didn't have our Richmond cars done, didn't have the other cars done, and our backup car didn't get done, so we took the old style, the square
as a
Oldsmobile
backup.
as our backup car. And now the new car ran good. We had qualified in the top 3 or 4 or something like that, and we were running in the 125, and I believe it was a 125. Might have been the Daytona 500. We were running, and I believe it was we were racing against Darrell Waltrip, and Darrell had the big Monte Carlo like this, and we had that little Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
And it was just the air off of these things. It pushed that Oldsmobile around.
Really?
And we wrecked. We were going for the lead at Daytona, and Cale went underneath of him, and it spun and wrecked, and we had to end up, it was in the 500, because then we had to take a backup, an old style Oldsmobile to Richmond. And everything, and Oldsmobile wasn't happy, and Cale wasn't happy, and stuff like that, and everything. And so, we raced after they let me go.
But when you're running a limited schedule, I mean, but Daytona's one of them.
Yeah.
That's the prize.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that.
It was at the end of the season, and the thing was, we'd been running a limited schedule, and then Dale Jarrett was going to drive. So what it was is, Cale was going to drive Daytona, and then Dale was going to drive. So we were going to run the full schedule.
Yep.
And we just didn't have, we weren't geared up for that. And part of it was Tracy, but it was me. I should have had enough fortitude and everything at the time to recognize that everybody's heart just wasn't in it, and we didn't work late enough. We should have worked late hours, but everybody was going home at 5 o'clock all winter long, because that's all we'd ever done. But we hadn't run a full schedule in a long time.
Right.
It'd been years since I'd run full schedule, and I just didn't get the job done. So he called me in, and the team manager did, and he said, Cliff, he said, I really hate to do this. I said, Bob, it's okay, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I said, I know.
Yep.
When you're not running good, you're not getting the job done.
Right.
Well,
it is a sport. It's proof by performance, and
if
the performance isn't there, then that's part of the game.
Yeah.
And
I had gotten off. We ran a partial schedule with this, and went to Cale with partial schedule. So for several years, I've been running partial schedule, and wasn't used to digging down and getting it done and making everybody So it was my own fault.
Gotcha. So after that, you leave Cale's.
I left Cale's, and I guess there wasn't a whole lot out there then. Once you kind of get that, once somebody lets you go, right there, then it was hard. That's when I sat at work for about 3 or 4 months right there and everything, and I just went and picked up some work. Richard called me, Jackson called me, and I went to work with Rick Mass was driving.
Yep. Okay.
The car, and Terry Labonte was driving it when I got there, the Skoll car.
Okay.
I went over there and worked with them and stuff like that for the year, and then I can't even remember. At the end of that, I went, just a few different people here and there.
Yeah.
Just some independent teams, and stuff like that. And then in 2000 or in 98, Ricky called me and wanted me to come work over there. He had his own team, the Tide team.
Yes.
And they had built a center block room in the shop, and he was supposed to do a project for Ford Motor Company. And they hired me to crew chief that, and me and Troy Aker, the engineer, we built a car in that room in there, and Ford had a special chassis built up in Michigan, and we had bolt-on pieces. You could change all the pivot points. Everything on it was a test car.
Oh, wow.
That we did right there, and we did all that and ran it. Went and tested it a couple times, and Andy Hillenberg drove it for us.
Okay.
We tested it at Indy, and went down to Lakeland and tested with it and stuff like that. And And then the next year, or at the end of that year, Ricky came to me and told me that they had just a couple of, like, one more race to go to Atlanta or something. And he came to me and told me that he thought he was going to quit. He thought he was going to sell the team, and he's going to shut it down. And Robert Yates had offered him a good deal to come over there, and he was going to go to drive for Robert. And I'm like,
eliminate the headache.
I'm tired of all this and everything like that. I'm burned out and everything, and it's just, So I went and bought me a boat and went in the boat business in 2000.
Yeah.
But I did 98, 99 with Ricky. That's right, cool. There the last year he had his own team.
You were in it. That was a good era. From the mid 70s up to the 2000s. I mean, that was the. As far as I'm concerned, you all can disagree if you want, but that was the time to be in it.
If you were there, everybody think. I mean, it's great now and stuff like that.
It is,
but it depends on what you compare it to.
Right.
But if you were there in the 70s, all the way up until 2000, the 70s were hard because nobody had any money, and you worked day and night. Yep. And then once Winston came along and things started getting up into the 80s, then it started getting to where you could hire people and do stuff, and it wasn't all the working day and night and everything, and it was really, you could enjoy it more and stuff like that. So Winston come along, that was a big thing for the sport.
Yeah.
Right there, made it what it was.
Well, that's cool. That is so cool. Man, well, I got to tell you, I so much appreciate your time tonight. Hot Rod, if you ever need it for a show or something, you call us and let us know.
I appreciate it. It was good to see it up at Mount Airy, too.
Yeah. Well, we figured Waddell was going to be there, so we took the Hardy's car.
Yep.
You were going to be there, so we took this. Will was going to be there, so we took the skinny car.
Yep.
We just figured we'd kind of help support all you guys that support all these fun little events. If you all haven't ever been to the Mount Airy Racers Reunion and Moonshine Festival, you're missing out.
Yeah.
It was just last weekend, so you got to wait till next year, but you've got to go. It's the coolest little town. It's the greatest car show if you like race cars. I mean, everything from old modifieds to sportsman cars to cup cars to, and I think there was 80 couple people signing autographs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So at least. So just a little commercial for them. If you ain't been to Mount Airy for their Vintage Racer Moonshine Festival, you need to go. It's awesome. It's fun. It's a one-day deal. It's a great show. And you won't regret it. And you can take your wives because the whole downtown is full of cool little antique shops and wineries and just fun stuff for them to do too. So it hits all the points. So thank you again. Sure. This was awesome. We love it. And glad you spent some time with us.
Isn't it next year, the Moonshine Racers reunion? Isn't it like the 13th, I think, of September?
I believe so.
It's around that second weekend in September, somewhere along in there.
Yeah.
But like Bill was saying, it is a great time there. Yeah. The wives can come because we're sitting there for 2 hours signing autographs. And while you're doing that, they can walk around the town. Yep. You've got Floyd's Barber Shop, and you got the old police cars to ride around in like that. They got Andy Griffith.
The old candy store.
Yeah, they got the old candy store. Yep. They got Andy Griffith Museum is down there. Yep. It's just and the people there, the moonshiners that came.
Yes.
And just it's good down to earth people.
It is, and it's great fun.
Yeah,
I lost my wife for 3 hours.
It's laid back. It's a laid back atmosphere, and everybody just has a good time.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, thank you everyone for the time. Thank you, Cliff Champion, for coming to hang out with us.
Anytime, sure.
We'll do this again, and thank y'all. Have a great evening. Yeah. My dog's dreaming. Look at her feet are moving.
Real excited.
She got to be with Dad.
That's how boring we were. He's just
dog. Put the dog. No, she falls asleep anyway. She's good at it.